and welcome to Inside Events, an international podcast focused on the contemporary issues in events and festivals. This week, I'm joined by Dr. Erik Lachance, and we're going to be talking about the volunteer experience. Welcome, Erik. If you could give us a little bit of information about who you are, your role, organization, and why are you interested in the volunteer experience?
Yeah.
That's not good. That's great. Thanks, Erik. And I can imagine a lot of the students, for example, tuning into this, they'll be like, well, I'm doing a lot of volunteering as part of my events degree or sports degree or business degree. And that's so they can probably kind of empathize, I guess, in a lot of sense of what their experience would be like. But if you could kind of break down the concept of kind of the volunteer experience, just to make it kind of crystal clear for anyone kind of listening to this podcast, how would you do that? That's really useful. Is there any sort of relationship between having kind of a really positive volunteer experience and then subsequently going on to kind of do work in the particular area that they did the volunteering in? Because I know that kind of volunteering for a lot of students, for example, but also I'm just thinking about major events like London 2012. It was a gateway into people thinking more seriously about work, play, employment, what they might want to do as a career. Is there that relationship, Eric, do you think? Mm, mm. Yeah, completely, completely. And it inspired a follow-up question, which is, I guess it's just a matter of the fact that we don't have enough time, resource, data to illustrate how compounding the effects can be of the volunteer experience. We just know, we place faith in the volunteer experience that it's going to create and accrue all these benefits, but it's just a matter of that we just don't have the data. Because you see kind of large scale events and major events being kind of cancelled, vetoed, and I'm always a little bit skeptical about just immediately just throwing them out of the calendar. There's a huge amount of benefits that are accrued. It's just that we don't have necessarily the data to support that. And I guess in some sense that that probably segues into my next question, which is really about why should students or people that are listening to the podcast, why should they be interested in this particular concept specifically? Is there any points that you want to nail down there again? Mm. mm, 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 mm. That's great. Thanks, Eric. That was super comprehensive. And I was just thinking, when it comes down to, society is made up of like three spaces, right? Work, home, and leisure, right? Leisure is this space of fun and frivolity, and the volunteer experience, volunteering is much more acceptable in leisure spaces because they're more fun. So they get, they're not just working, they're also experiencing something more leisurely and therefore more accepting of getting paid nothing. But could you argue that, essentially the entire events industry is predicated on a system of exploitation, and I won't go into too much detail about the kind of the politics and the economics of that. But do you find that, like, in the experience of volunteers, people reflect on that? Well, I'm getting exploited, but I'm cool with it, or I'm getting exploited and I'm not cool with it. Is that part of the experience as well? Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, yeah, no, I like that, and I think it's, if we think about the the word exploitation, financially, they're getting free labor, right? But that takes a very parochial view on capital, and the kind of capital that's accrued. Like, some people it's not just about what financially you're remunerated with, right? You've got networks, relationships, future job opportunities, and it takes a very parochial view to just see this just about finance. And so I think that's how you slightly overcome the whole exploitation question. And it's a matter of degree and individual capacity. I agree with all of that. That's and someone might say, well, you would say that, Mike, because you've got a full-time job and you're financially secure and that sort of thing. And I completely accept that for most people, finance is the number one priority. Social capital and friends and networks, that's a next order thing, right? So I completely appreciate that. We've got a kind of couple of minutes left, Erik. Could you kind of give us maybe kind of two or three key future trends that we should really look out for, and then we'll kind of close up in about 2 or 3 minutes. Mm, 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 mm. Mm. That's really good. That's great, Erik. And I was going to end with just a question about kind of future resources if people were interested in knowing more. But we'll liaise via email and we'll kind of pop them underneath the podcast, and people can kind of follow that. Including, you've done a ton of work, and there's a whole bunch of work that's being done by kind of people like Kirsten Holmes and Judith and Leonie and various other people. So we'll definitely put that underneath just to kind of make it easy for people to kind of get a grips of this really, really complicated idea. So hopefully we'll have you back on InsideEvents about something maybe a bit more specific about the volunteer experience. But that was a great introductory piece about that. So thanks for coming on, Erik.